First gear down. My other race car and just flex out hard. Flex out so hard. This is the first time I've like it's the first time I've really done that with the bike, so that car's coming, oh well. See if we can fit in a second. 4, 3. Oh, wow! Alright, this will be V-Rod spark plugs. If you didn't watch the last video where we raced the custom ZX14, which was a good video and pretty funny because the intro is pretty savage. We did race the ZX14 and I got to ride it. And during that, amongst another video I made with like wide open pulls of 5.5 pounds, I was feeling a buck on the bike and I was assuming it was spark plug blowout after some thinking and riding. But it kicked in again on the second race with the ZX14, which I hadn't even done that many hits. It was just one hit where I missed second gear and then another hit on the way back, and I felt the buck again. So I knew I needed to take a look at the spark plugs. So I'm going to show you how I pull the spark plugs out of the V-Rod. And then we will go check the gap on the actual plugs, which are Harley Davidson plugs. They shouldn't even be in here. But for now, we're just going to re-gap them because I know they're too big of a gap right now. I should have NGK like 9Es, and I'll get you the spark plug data for that I got off the forum from other turbo riders as well. But I'm going to show you real quick before I head over to Kevin's house and we check this horrendous gap, because I've had to basically evaluate a lot of stuff with this bike since I got it. But for the price I got it, I'm more than happy to deal with it. So I don't know if this is all V-Rods, but this is an 07 night rod with the turbo, obviously. You just pop your coolant tank, overflow tank out. It's just kind of held in by two poppers, so to speak. And your coil is right here. And there will be a long bolt, usually on the left-hand side of the coil. And then there will be a shorter bolt on the right side of the coil. I have the coil in there just to protect my cylinder so no bugs fly in or anything you don't want at all. But once you get those two bolts out, your massive, very healthy looking coil, and then your spark plug is down in there. My spark plug tool is missing the rubber grommet, so I just used a vacuum line to hook on to the actual plug and get it out. Very easy one, that one. Just popping the overflow tank out. Those are the nubs on the bottom, and those nubs pop into grommet number 1 and grommet number 2 right there. And pretty straightforward, pretty simple stuff. Just be delicate. There's a lot going on. At least not on mine very much, but on your bike you'll have like a whole intake contraption. I'm lucky. I just have a twin splitter that goes down. Does a blow-off valve. Your whole battery will have to come out to get to your second coil. Another long bolt over here, short bolt over here. Beefy coil, pull it out, and straight spark plug right under there. It's pretty straightforward stuff, but it is a little bit more intricate than especially my Nightster. My Nightster just had plugs on the outside, so way easier to do Nightster plugs than it is to do V-Rod plugs, but this bike hauls ass, so I'm not upset with that. So let's get over to Kevin's house and check out the spark plug game. We will use our trusty dusty ProCharge vet to get there. Alright, these were the Harley Davidson plugs that were in it. These are not supposed to be the plugs that it should have with a turbocharger on it, but these plugs are actually already a 34, so we gapped them down to 22. Hopefully that will band-aid the situation until I get the proper plugs, which should be NGKs. So we're going to go ahead and throw these in, and we'll take it out tomorrow and take it for a test and see what happens. Get your coil put back in, get your plug put back on. Long bolt, short bolt, Allen heads, tighten them in. This one's done. Coolant tank now will go on top and just pop in, just like that. Literally pops right on. The other plug isn't tightened yet, so we'll tighten that plug down and throw the coil on, and we'll go from there. Get the coil drop down in there. Pop your connector on. Go ahead and pop your connector on right here. Get your two screws back in. Tall one over here, short one over here. Now the battery will go back in. I also have a battery tender and a few other items, so I actually painter's taped everything that was going to go back on just in case I forgot, since the V-Rod's still kind of fresh on my mind. Alright, got our battery back in, all of our wires, even tucked this little box over here. Prior we actually had the boost controller that comes with this kit, but I guess I don't have the twist knob that goes on top of it, so thank goodness for Kevin. He gave us the new revised version. We got this from him today. It's also a Turbo XS, but it has a twisting knob on it, so we're going to go ahead and put that on right meow. I actually still have the tank cover off. This is the next night. I've already ridden the bike and turned up the boost a little bit because when I first got the bike, there was no vacuum on the wastegate itself. It was just wide open amongst the boost controller being hooked up to the blow-off valve. So initially I just ran my boost controller, which was a crappy blue one that I didn't have a knob for. So essentially being closed all the way. It was only a wastegate pressure, which is 5.5 pounds. I can tell that the bike is tuned for more than that because of 5.5 pounds. It felt fast, felt fun. Don't get me wrong, it spooled up, blah, blah, blah. But since doing the plugs, I haven't done any like wide open like rev limit pulls, but I have turned up the boost controller a little bit, made a few hits on the way home after riding it with the new gap at 22. Haven't had any issues with the gap at 22. However, it does start over smoother at 22 like before. With the gap at 34 on the crappy Harley Davidson plugs, which it should not have with the turbo, the startup sometimes would be a little hesitant. Like if I didn't hold on to the starter, it would want to fall on its face like 1 out of 10 times, which I found interesting. It doesn't do that anymore with a 22 gap. We got the new boost controller on. I turned it up like 2 full cranks, and now we're at like 7 pounds, and the bike feels way faster. So clearly I'm leaning out the air-fuel ratio. I don't want to keep adding boost up to like 10 or 12 pounds because I have no idea what the bike is tuned for. So I could be running like a 13 air-fuel ratio at the top of the power band, which is all bad at wide open throttle. And I don't want to burn a hole in a piston or blow it up, even if it's got forged pistons or not, because with the receipts that I've showed in picking up the bike on YouTube, which there's a video of me picking up the bike, I do have paperwork for Corella rods, ported and polished heads, and a few other things like gaskets and typical stuff to get done when you do go to upgraded internals, or at least the rods. The pistons were done, but they didn't seem to be any aftermarket pistons, just said 1130cc pistons, but the rods did have Corella next to the rod description. So I'm assuming I have Corella rods, even though with this bike, it really doesn't matter. People on the forums have run these stock motors up to 20 PSI and just sent it all day long. So regardless of the built motor, it'll take it. So we're good there. So we do have our new revised boost controller on. It has been turned up just a little bit. So far the spark plugs are good. If you want to see this thing on 7 pounds, you will have to wait. I will probably do that moto vlog tomorrow. I will throw on the helmet and obviously the suck mic, and we will go out and make a few hits on 7 PSI. I might turn it up just a little bit, but I'd rather not do anything until I get it tuned and at least get an air-fuel ratio gauge on it, because there's a few other things I want to do to the bike before I'm content with its current status, which is we're wrapped with just fiberglass here, which is okay. It doesn't bother me. This is wrapped with just fiberglass, which is the downpipe, but it was definitely hot on my leg when I rode it the first time, bare leg, just to see what the heat was like. I have since added titanium wrap on top of the fiberglass wrap that's underneath this to double wrap this downpipe. And this front pipe is not wrapped at all, which I think is severely stupid. It's right up on the coolant fans. It's right by this intake pipe. It's just too hot. So I actually bought some sockets that are inside, but also got some backup sockets for Allen heads so that I can undo the bolts here and take off this intake pipe so that I can have some more freedom to wrap the front pipe with titanium wrap, which in this here bag we have another backup set of titanium wrap I've got from another project for another sports car, because I have sports cars. That's what I do. And if you're not subscribed, you should definitely subscribe. I would like to wrap the front pipe and then the boost gauge. I really don't like it here because I have to look down anytime I'm riding it to pay attention to the boost when I'm wide open. So I would like to move the boost gauge at least up to like here or somewhere more up in this region, so at least people can see what's going on with the bike and be more intimidated or more built up questions when they pass me on the highway. And add an AEM wideband so I can see the air-fuel ratio in lifetime, which won't really matter a whole lot once I get the bike retuned. But I'm still the type of guy with a 5.3 turbo and a pro-charged vet, which I've actually added my own digital boost gauges and AEM Yugo X series wideband, which shows the 10th decimal on the right-hand side. So I'll show like 15.45 at idle or 14.59 at idle. And I want that on this bike. You know, for any Nightster or the prior bike that I had on the channel, That's not a big deal. Nobody cares about airflow ratio, right? But with a turbo bike, you should definitely have that. So with this bike, you should definitely want it because this bike is a whole nother level as far as like a power adder and speed in general. And that's just something I want. So those are some things I'm going to add on that I definitely want before I'm content with this bike for the time being, amongst like floorboards, which I want like mini floorboards right here because these pegs have me a little stretched out, and you can get mini floorboards that will be a lot longer so I can have more comfort when I'm stretched out riding the bike, so to speak. So, you know, there's some things to cover, but right now we're only on the spark plug video and the gap in general, so we'll try to word that a little crafty for the description on the video in general. For those of you that have subscribed because of this bike, I do appreciate your support. We are going places. We are growing every day, so thank you for joining the movement. Make sure you give the video a big like. If you have any questions, comment down below. All the information I get, which I don't touch this bike or attempt anything without getting prior data from like mainly the 1130 Turbo V-Rod forums. So spark plug gap knowledge, what the gap should be at, which spark plugs are being used, how much boost, what the AFRs should be at throughout the power band, which is actually ideal to cars. All that information I get from the V-Rod forums. So if you have any questions that you can't get from there, be sure to comment down below and I'll give you all the data that I have, at least while I can keep up. Because I don't know if I'll be at 10,000 subscribers next month. You never know. But until then, I do appreciate your support. I do appreciate you watching. And stay tuned in, I guess, you know. It's only going to get crazier with the RX-7 5.3 Turbo, the ProCharged Vet. We just did the Racetronics hot wire fuel kit for the Vet because it was shutting off on me. That was pretty yay for a 2011 Vet. That's a pretty stupid problem to have. So that video was actually the last video I just dropped, and now we need to drop the spark plug. So, you know, just keeping you up to date and trying to plug whatever stuff you may not know about if you landed on this video and you have no idea about my channel. Other than that, we will see you next time. Toodaloo. We'll leave you at the outro so you can see our shit going full savage. Until next time, thanks for watching. Bye. This is the first time I've like... It's the first time I've really done that with the bike, so... Alright. That car's coming? Oh well. Let's see if we can fit in a second. 4, 3... Oh wow! Taking the turn. Fourth, third. See if we can do a first gear down. My other race car and just flex out hard. Flex out so hard.